All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA props video. This slate, we were just talking beforehand, before the video started, it's going to be a fun slate. It seems like there's a lot of injury situations we're waiting on or have got that really kind of opens up the slate. Some interesting ownerships. And you were just mentioning Sam Hauser on FanDuel. I guess we could just start out with Boston injury news-wise. We'll just jump right into that, honestly. So Boston, we know they're going to be a little bit short-handed with Jaylen Brown out. What is kind of your expectations there?
Yeah, man. So no Jaylen Brown. I mean, I think the spread on this game is almost like 17 points. Pistons haven't won a game since like last year, it feels like. So um, I don't think that's going to change tonight. But yeah, Boston, huge favorites here. I think the main guy I'm really looking to in this game is probably Derek White. 7.1K looks really good. He should get the biggest bump with no Jaylen Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really big spread. I want to get to more guys, but with this spread and with other closer games on the slate, going to be tough to get to a ton of guys from here.
I will say it's kind of interesting. Like Al Horford, we haven't really seen too much with Jaylen Brown off the court. We've seen it with basically like Tatum, with Porzingis, obviously a decent amount. He's not pulling in any ownership, and he's projected to get 25 minutes. I'm not saying like that's something we want to go in on. And like the data doesn't like it, but I kind of find that interesting a little bit there. But yeah, with everyone, it's probably going to be a blowout. Like, we don't love that. But there is some mispricing. Like, Drew Holiday, 6.7 on DraftKings, 7.4 on FanDuel is somewhat interesting. Sam Hauser, to that point, kind of mispriced. Porzingis, $600 difference as well. So there are some pieces. Like, you don't see yourself getting to more than like two here, like on purpose, do you? Like, maybe you end up on someone, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's a great spot for all of them, but like, yeah, we got to pick which ones do the blowing out. So yeah, I agree. The guards, Holiday does look really cheap. The model likes him a lot. I was getting him a lot earlier, but with all this news, I'm getting to less Holiday.
Okay. And then for what's worth, like on the other side of that game, we did get news that Isaiah Stewart's out. So not a big mover, but Jalen Duren, probably an okay play. We don't know about blowout run and whatnot. The next biggest news that we have is there's a decent amount. So we'll start with Chicago, actually. So we already know that Vooch and Levine are going to be out. Looking at it, Andre Drummond's just the chalk on DraftKings. And he's coming in as like one of the best value plays, really, on every single site, including Yahoo, where very great rating there. But 18.3 DK value rating, for anyone that's not familiar with the occupied model, that's a very high number that we're getting. Projected to get 37 minutes. Not as high owned on the previous slate after he kind of showed everyone that he probably should be high owned. What is your kind of thoughts there? Is he someone you're, I don't want to say locking in, but really going out of your way to target?
Yeah, man. So when I first opened up the slate last night, just to look at pricing, I saw him at 7.5K. I was like, I thought he was going to be like no one's going to play him, but yeah, he's coming in at uber ownership. But this is honestly probably the best matchup you can give him against Indiana. He played like 40 minutes last game. I don't know if we can project him to play 40 again, but if he's playing well, we should see 30 plus at least. So Andre Drummond, I think he's arguably the top center player on the slate.
Yeah, and so I get like why on FanDuel where he's priced up 8.9. It sounds weird to say, but yeah, if he's getting 37 minutes, I'm actually kind of fine having him use up my center spot on FanDuel, which sounds ugly to say, but really it's the perfect matchup. And if you're getting a center like Drummond, who's been a point per minute player, playing 37 minutes, I'm expecting 40 fantasy points. We were just talking like beforehand, looking at Underdog. Underdog has him projected to get 43 fantasy points. So if we can get 43 at 8.9, obviously we'd want a little bit more, but that kind of tells you his ceiling. It's like that's his average. Obviously he can go higher than that, can go lower than that. That's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, really crazy.
Anyone else for the Bulls, like DeMar DeRozan, projected to get some heavy minutes, pulling in some ownership. Kobe White's kind of been disappointing lately, but projected to get heavy minutes as well. And then Patrick Williams as well, same thing, kind of been disappointing lately, but I feel like we probably would want to get maybe to another one of those two.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think DeMar is probably the first guy, at least the field is looking that way.
Yeah.
8,300 on both sides. I think he looks pretty good. Is priced up now to a pretty healthy price. Pretty like below average game for DeMar last game.
Yeah.
I think he still looks really solid at 8,300. Probably the second guy I want to look to.
Yeah, I feel like he's very safe. Like that 51 DraftKings night that we had against the Lakers, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, that really seems like an outlier. He typically is just very safe. And so, like, I don't, is he going to be in the GPP winning lineup? I don't know if I see that, but I do see him being in a profitable build for some people, maybe like competing for maybe a GPP winning lineup. Looking at some of the other injury news that we have, let's start with kind of the big one or jump into the big one next. And that's going to, I don't know, I phrased that poorly because we'll go to Dallas. I wasn't thinking Dallas. I think Portland's going to be the big one. But Dallas, we know that Luka's out. We know that Kyrie is out as well. Surprisingly, no one's too chalk here. We got Exum pulling in 27% projected ownership. Tim Hardaway, 18. Derrick Jones Jr., about 14. Seth Curry, about 13 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, Tim Hardaway Jr., a little bit more chalky. Who do you like the most for Dallas with those two players out?
Yeah, so the field's looking this way. I think so too. Dante Exum at 6.3K.
Yeah.
Probably going to be the main guy there tonight with no Luka, no Kyrie. So I think he's the primary target. And then Derrick Jones Jr. as well at around 5K. Should be pretty solid. And then on FanDuel, Tim Hardaway Jr. is 6,400, projecting for nearly 40% ownership. I think he's very much firmly in play as well.
Yeah, that's interesting that he's that high owned compared to DraftKings because it's only like a $200 price difference. I don't know if I get that. Like, I don't get why there's that big of a discrepancy there. And maybe it's just like position wise, it's a must play on either site. I would say 18% to me would probably be correct. I think DraftKings has it right. 34 on FanDuel, I feel like it's just too high. I know you just said you like him. I don't know. I'm having a tough time getting there. Like, I would rather get to like Derrick Jones Jr. personally, or I guess it's the multiple position eligibility, but I don't know. It's just a weird one there. I find that strange.
Yeah, so on FanDuel, I think I like him more. On DraftKings, I don't really like him that much at 66. I think just having the forward eligibility on FanDuel is why people are going there. That's my guess. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So we'll get into the next kind of situation. So we got the first question kind of about Portland. So yeah, the big news that I think on tonight's slate is going to be what happens basically if Simon sits. So he's currently questionable. We have him projected in the model to get 36 minutes. Yeah, it's difficult, honestly, to predict what would happen, but let's talk through it. So my initial thoughts would be that we want to load up on Malcolm Brogdon. We want to load up on Scoot Henderson. What are your initial thoughts there?
Yeah, so if Simons is out, I completely agree. Both of those guys are going to project really, really well, and I would have a ton of them. So, both Scoot and Brogdon would probably be close to core plays if Simons hits. I agree.
And it's kind of one of those weird spots because we already got news that Sharp and Aiden are out, and we have seen Brogdon be productive lately. Like, he's projected to get 33 minutes. He can still be productive at 33 minutes. So it's just one of those situations. With it being the late night game, he's only projected to get 5% owned. We may or may not get this news in time. He could like only jump up to like 10% as Simon gets ruled out. So I feel like it's worth the risk. Kind of what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you see ownership wise? Is he someone the field would get to, obviously being the late night game, or not?
You said Brogdon or Scoot?
Yeah, Brogdon with it. Either both of them, actually, to be honest with you. But like, if it happens, let's say around after the Detroit Boston game kind of kicks off, which is middle of the road tonight. Or no, it's a 6:30 game. Sorry, never mind. It's a later start time. I forgot. After the Memphis Denver game, let's say.
Yeah, I think the field should definitely get to Brogdon. I think that Scoot may be a little bit under-owned just because there's mid-tier guards with Exum, Derek White, Holiday, some other guys in there should be somewhat owned.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the field will get there a decent chunk. But I think at least for me, I probably want to be just lighter on this first game so I can have that flexibility.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's probably blowing out most likely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see Detroit having a good game. They could, but I don't know. The field will probably get there.
That makes sense. Which players for like value wise for Portland do you like the most? Because we got Breathe pulling in 47% projected ownership on DraftKings. I do kind of agree with that. He just seems clearly mispriced, but he's only projected at 21.4 minutes, so not exactly a lock. And then Jabari Walker as well, only projected to get 18 minutes. And I kind of find that surprising. So he's at a cheap price tag, though, as well on DraftKings. So any love for either of those two?
Yeah, so Jawak Reed is actually probably, as of right now, my favorite Portland play. Just I think at his price point on DraftKings and honestly FanDuel too, really cheap. I don't know if he's going to start. We did see Moses
Yeah.
Brown start, but Reed, I think he shot like 100% from the field last game, so can't expect that again. But he looks really good at his price point.
Yeah, I don't, and like he played 32 minutes in that last game that we saw him. So like, maybe we can't trust like the minutes projection per se. It's probably just one of those players where it's difficult to predict minutes wise. Yeah, it's just such a weird spot there for Portland. But some other situations that we have, let's go ahead and get into the next big one, Miami. So we got news that Jimmy Butler's out. We got news that Kyle Lowry is out. We got news that Caleb Martin's out. And then we also are expecting Josh Richardson to sit. So what I'm surprised by, and I think it's just because of the value that's opened up throughout the day, is that Bam, Tyler Hero, and also Jaquez, they're all three kind of low owned. Like no one's chalkier, maybe on FanDuel a little bit where they're slightly cheaper. But are you getting to anyone here going against Golden State, which I kind of see as not a difficult matchup, especially for someone like Bam, but also Jaquez if he's getting us 37 minutes like he's projected to get. I feel like all three of those plays should be 10% owned on DraftKings at least. I would say the ownerships on FanDuel are more correct.
Yeah, so this is honestly my biggest conviction here. I think Hero and Hawkes are arguably the two top plays on the slate. So I know it's a crazy take, but without Lowry, without Butler, without Richardson, and without Martin, like these guys are going to have to play all the minutes they can handle. We're likely going to see Point Hero. So Point Hero is, we want to play Point Hero. 8.4K is a really expensive price point, but he should have a great game here. And then Hawkes, my assumption is when Hero's off the court, Hawkes should dominate. So
Yeah.
Hawkes at 63, I think, very much a great turn to play.
Yeah, Jaquez, I'm a UCLA fan. Going back to kind of when he was with UCLA, he did operate. I mean, he was basically their point guard for the season. So can definitely run that. My only concern is that Duncan Robinson, we have seen a little bit as someone that can, I don't want to say operate as a point guard, but just soak up some usage. So could see that happening. All in all, though, I completely agree. Like, again, I think those ownerships are too low. I think those are some pretty awesome leverage spots there. Again, I'm pretty surprised at the field right now. And maybe it's just the news that came out. People haven't responded to, but all in all, the news has been out for quite some time. So it's kind of weird there. Any other injury? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say RJ Hampton should see some minutes just because that's her only guard.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably get around 20, 25 maybe. But if you want to take a stab there, I think it's fine. And then I want to mention Bam too. Bam had a really good game against Philly. I think he's a great tournament center play as well. 8,800. No one's going to get it.
It's fascinating, honestly, Bam as a play tonight, just because we have Drummond and also Reith there. Like, it is more difficult to get to him, but, like, man, he could put up 50 tonight, and it wouldn't be shocking.
Yeah, definitely.
Any love for Kane as well? Because you mentioned RJ Hampton. Like, to me, I kind of see them both as very similar plays. At least on DraftKings, Kane, you have guard forward eligibility. Both projected to get right around 18 minutes. Like, both cheap. I kind of think both of them are somewhat worth a look.
Yeah, definitely. Kane's a fantastic fantasy point per minute guy. I mentioned him in Discord earlier. He should see extended run. So I like taking stabs at Kane and tournaments as a low-owned value play.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other spots that I missed here? There's just so many I don't. John Morant's a game time decision. I guess we'll talk. Aaron Gordon's out as well. Like, there's enough. But I say we go and get into the positions here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not.
All right. Can you hear me on this slide or no? We always had difficult.
Yep.
All right, sweet. It's always this one. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get to the guards for DraftKings, shooting guard, point guard. So looking at it from like a value rating, because there's just so much value. Derek White is popping up as the best value, then Ingram, then Drew Holiday. Obviously for Boston with Brown out. Both of those two players are going to soak up some usage, and they're not too chalky. Caldwell Pope's definitely an interesting play. Again, Aaron Gordon being out actually does help out Caldwell Pope a decent amount. We got Exum there as well, forward eligible on DraftKings. We have a lot of good value, and for what it's worth, like Simons, if he does play, is in a pretty good spot as well. So, to you, where is the guard starting point? Like maybe point guard, maybe shooting guard. Who are you starting your builds out guard wise?
Yeah, this is tough, man. We have so many good plays. I'll tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be Drew. I mean, not Drew. It's not going to be Justin Holiday. So briefly going to him, 3.2K. He's projecting for a ton of ownership. I just don't see it at all. I think he's not a good play. But going into my favorite play, probably would be Derek White. I agree. 7.1K looks really really good. Just seems too cheap for him. Even on a blowout, he should be the one that gets majority of the shots. So I think he looks good. And then I hate to say it, but Tyler Hero is going to be a priority for me at his ownership. Going to be a starting place for me.
Honestly, it's like, so I'm in complete agreement, at least with Tyler Hero for sure. They're like, and Holiday for what it's worth, Justin Holiday, that is. It's so weird that he's that low owned, Tyler Hero. And honestly, Justin Holiday, it's so weird that he's that high owned as well. I get it. It's a cheap value play, but yeah, where I'm in agreement there. It's just weird. From there, though, like Axum, I do think is a good play for Dallas. Does feel like a very safe play. Just my concern is how much upside does Exum have? And really, does Dallas keep it close enough for long enough? Like, is it a Josh Green game if it becomes a blowout? It's tough to say. Exum does feel like a 30 or so fantasy point player tonight. I'm pretty okay with that. From there, like Klay Thompson has been better as of recent. We know he's very much shot dependent, but he's only coming in at 2% owned. I do find that interesting. It's not like he's a must play, but he is still pretty cheap. Any love for him at all?
Yeah. Who was it again? Sorry, I completely
No. Klay Thompson. So, guard, forward eligible, kind of cheap, low ownership.
Yeah, he's fine. I do greatly much prefer Pojemski for the savings, but I think he makes sense. If he hits his shots, does have a huge ceiling. So I think he's fine.
And then I do got to mention it. So if we get news that maybe John Morant does sit, Marcus Smart at 5.4 and in 1% is somewhat interesting to me. We are expecting John Morant to play at this point, but like I would expect Marcus Smart to get 36 minutes, and at 5.4, I feel like he would be a very kind of standout play as well.
Yeah, man. Marcus Smart and Desmond Bain, I think both would look really, really good without John. It's another great guard play. We have so many good guard plays today. So if Jaw was out, they would make Smart elite and Bain elite. So I love that call.
Then I have to mention Andrew Nembhard as well. So he's 5.5 on DraftKings, not pulling in any ownership. 5K on FanDuel, pulling in a bunch of ownership. We saw that he was chalky on the last slate. Kind of a chalky disappointment, I would say. To me, that was expected. I thought that was strange chalk. It's kind of like the Justin Holiday chalk, but he was priced up enough at 5K to the point where he wasn't a must play. The field was treating him like a must play. To me, this doesn't seem like a jump on spot, though. I think they got it correct on DraftKings. FanDuel at the 34%, I'm fine fading him. What are your kind of thoughts on Indy? Really just, obviously, with Bruce Brown being out, do you see Nembhard as a good play, or do you see anyone else as a good play for Indy?
Yeah, so I'm actually in agreement with you. I think I'm going to be underweight on Nembhard, especially on FanDuel at that ownership. I think there's a ton of other good guard forward plays. So, especially with Indiana, like their rotations are very weird. We saw Buddy Hield play 35 off the bench yesterday. Just very hard to tell what their coach is going to do. So probably going to be underweight stand for me on Nembhard.
Yeah, and I was pretty high on Buddy Hield in that game. He shot the ball terribly, but still put up 26 fantasy points. Obviously, that's not what you wanted on that night. 6.1 didn't kill you, didn't help you, but kind of expect him to have a better night shooting. Although difficult matchup as well. To me, probably just stayaways really, which I think I'm fine with on this slate. We are getting some questions about Miami, kind of and their bench. I guess we can talk about just Miami in general. What are your kind of thoughts? I know we already kind of mentioned this. We're looking at Hawkins, we're looking at Hero, we're looking at Bam. Then you kind of already mentioned the values, but let's just kind of recap it.
Yeah, so Jamal Cain, probably the first option we want to target off the bench at least. Should really good fancy producer. And then we mentioned RJ Hampton in tournaments. Should see, around 20 minutes tonight. So I think he'd be another good option off the bench.
And then I don't know if Highsmith is projected to start if he's starting. I don't think he is, but he's someone that he's probably starting at whatever, probably at the 4, whatever. Projected to get 26 minutes. You see someone you'd be looking at, or even like Kevin Love getting 22 minutes. Like they're both pretty cheap on DraftKings specifically.
Yeah, so Highsmith is a pretty good producer, and with no Richardson, he should get more concrete minutes here.
Yeah.
So I think he's firmly in play as a value play. There's someone around that price range. Jabari Walker is like 200 more, 100 more. I think he's safer, but Highsmith is firmly in play as well.
And then from there, we're getting Kobe White question and actually a Cody Martin question. So Kobe White, I can handle this. Like we're fine playing him. It's just the issue with him is that basically there's other good enough plays around there. It would kind of feel like to me, and I've been on him a decent amount, like we'd probably be forcing in Kobe White if we're trying to fit him in there. He's not someone that I'm ending up on naturally. That being said, projected at 39 minutes. He's due for a better game shooting as well. Like certainly could be in the GPP winning lineup. I don't think that'd be surprising at all. I do like the fact that the price is a little bit lower. But all in all, given the amount of good plays we have elsewhere, cheaper plays that we have elsewhere, I can see why he's low owned.
Yeah, man, another recency bias spot. The field will flock away.
Yeah.
Just because he shot so bad, but I can't imagine he's going to shoot as bad as he did. So I think he's a phenomenal tournament play, especially if everyone's going to play DeMar. Kobe White's the perfect pivot there at guard. So I like him a lot in tournaments. Once again, tons of guard plays.
So like my issue is like to your point, I'd rather get to Tyler Hero. Is that kind of like the problem too? Like Tyler Hero's lower owned and probably has just as much upside.
Yeah, I think Hero is a safer floor. He does more than White does, and typically hits more of his shots. Kobe White's very boom bust with how many shots he hits. So.
But it is crazy. 7 for 22, 0 for 7 from 3, 8 for 19, 0 for 8 from 3. Like if you just give him 2 3-balls made there, which is a terrible 3-ball percentage still, we're looking at around 38 or so in both games with a 3-point bonus or whatever. So like you would take that. And honestly, if he's shooting the basketball better, he probably explodes for 45 instead, like just because he's not shooting the ball terribly. Cody Martin, is he even someone that's popping at all? Like I didn't see that.
Yeah, on FanDuel, he's really chalk. I'm not
Okay.
sure what to do with that. I didn't know I was actually going to ask you about him because I don't really know what I want to do with Martin.
Yeah, no, I don't know either. So minutes wise, you like that? I don't know. I feel like I'd have to pull it up. Give me a second here. I can do that, but I don't see it. Like I would almost rather go with Miami value. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it seems like too fringe of value for me.
Yeah. I mean, that game could blow out, right? I think that's probably part of it against LA. Maybe get some blowout run. I don't know. To me, like Charlotte is one of those teams that right now is just tough for me to get to. Like they're all kind of correctly priced. So yeah, I don't know. It's more difficult for me to get to.
Yeah, and they have a Bryce McGowan's too. So another guy that can, take minutes from him. So yeah, just harder to pick the value pieces for Charlotte.
I will say the ownership discrepancies that we have between the two sites is just crazy because like the pricing is the same and it's just 12% and 31%. It's just maybe there's a stud that I missed that people are trying to prioritize.
Yeah, so Nick said Hayward out for Charlotte, Miller questionable. Yeah, so Hayward is out, so I think that's probably why. So that makes sense. That makes more sense now.
But it's not like he's projected to get like massive minutes. He's only projected to get 22 minutes. And so like to me, I would rather get to like almost PJ Washington at 2% ownership. But you guys, anyone that's seen me talk about PJ Washington knows I probably have some like weird bias with him. But like I don't know, Brandon Miller, I get it. It's like a low. I guess he's a lineup filler to me. Like if you're closing out your build, you're kind of happy to end up on him.
Yeah, he's a decent fantasy producer, Martin, but I'm kind of just meh on him right now.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, and then we got one other question, then we'll get into the forward plays. So White or Hero, same price on FanDuel. That might come down to ownership.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see here. So White, 8K, obviously 17% projected owned. And then Hero. Where's Hero? 12%. So, yeah, I mean, still Hero, I think.
Yeah, Hero's price tag does not make sense on FanDuel. 7.8K seems way too cheap for him for his role right now.
I got him at 8K, unless this is wrong.
Oh,
Either
is
way,
8K?
not a big
Still
difference
too cheap.
either way. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into the forward plays. Let's start by DraftKings forwards here. And so looking at right now, AD is kind of pulling in some ownership. He's going to be in a very good spot. OF index wise, he is the top forward play on the slate. Tatum not pulling in too much ownership. And I know that game has some blowout risk, but he's going to be the reason that it blows out, really. And he's under 10K. We have him projected to get 37 minutes. Like, I feel like that's a good spot. You have DeMar DeRozan, heavy minutes, one of the better value plays. LeBron in a good spot against Charlotte. Who are you starting out? And don't include Dante Exum in this. Who are you starting out your builds with for the forward spot?
Yeah, so my most exposed forward is actually Michael Porter Jr. At 6.1 or 6.3. I don't remember off the top of my head, but with no Aaron Gordon, who got attacked by his dog, which is insane.
I did not see that.
Yeah,
Wow.
he looked really, really safe without AG. So I think he's the number one priority. And you mentioned DeMar DeRozan at 8.3 is going to be one of the safer forward plays.
Yeah.
And then you said not to mention Exum. So no, Exum is good, but I'm not going to mention him.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I want to mention Jaren Jackson if Ja Morant sits at 7K would like really, really good. And then one more play, Anthony Davis at 10K does have the forward eligibility. Looks pretty good if that game sits close.
Yeah, I agree. And like, it's just kind of clearly mispriced. I thought DraftKings FanDuel had figured out the pricing for both Anthony Davis and LeBron, and nope, they kind of just priced him back down. So I do think there's still a buying opportunity there. Yeah. So looking it over, like, you're right. I kind of forgot about Michael Porter Jr. being like a standout play, and he's definitely too low priced on DraftKings. 33% projected ownership. I'm fine eating that chalk for sure. And then Jaquez as well is like 6.3. I think that's a very strong play as well. And he's not getting any ownership. So the Miami spot, I think if we're eating chalk tonight, which we probably will be, like, we can pivot to a couple pretty good leverage plays with Miami, whether it's Jaquez, maybe Bam, and then also here. I think that's a safe move. And it sounds weird to say, but yeah, safe move. What about Jeremy Grant if we do get news that Simon sits? We know he's very much shot dependent. He's kind of the exact same play as Klay Thompson, but any love for him?
Yeah, so he's fine. I would definitely prefer the guards with no Simons, but he's cheap enough, around 7K. I think he makes definitely some sense in tournaments. Wouldn't be a priority, but definitely would want to get to a decent amount of Jeremy Grant if Simons is.
Man, this slate's crazy. Let's see here. Yeah, so no love for Tatum at all? Or because, like, to me, I feel like that's with the value that we have, he's like the one play that I look at, like, pricing wise, that I do want to pay up for ownership because of the ownership. Like, that's, other than Miami, that's like my biggest leverage spot. But I'm kind of curious your thoughts there.
Yeah, so I think he's way too cheap with no Brown. Once again, just my worry is the blowout on that game. He's sub 10K, which is super cheap. But if he only gets 3/4 a run, he should get there. But yeah, he's still fine. I'm just a little bit worried about blowout. But at the ownership, I like that call.
Okay. So I think we're good to kind of potentially pivot into forwards here. I do want to mention Sam Hauser. Ownership on FanDuel is still climbing, 40% now. Projected to get 28 minutes. Again, like, I'm okay with it. I'm okay in the chalk. I'm actually going to sort by FanDuel pricing here. I feel like there's other pivots we could get to. Let's just see here if that's right, though.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, I guess not really for forwards. Josh Green, potentially 22 minutes. Kamara, if Simons is out, I think he's someone we could be looking at. I guess I get it by sorting it like that. Again, though, Justin Holiday being chalk on DraftKings and not chalk on FanDuel is just super strange with the $600 price difference. It's a weird day. It really is.
I think I'm going to X out Justin Holiday. I know that's crazy seeing his ownership, but I'd rather get to Peyton Watson too,
Yeah,
around the same price point. Watson's a really good fancy producer when he does get minutes. So yeah, give me Watson as a pivot to Holiday.
I think that's fair. Let's go ahead and pivot on into the centers here. So yes, we kind of already mentioned three that we're going to be on for the most part. Bam as a good leverage spot, just not getting any ownership. We're going to be looking at Andre Drummond, the best value play on the board today. I'm pretty sure that's still true. And then also Reith as well. Like he is someone price point wise, it's going to be difficult to pass up on. We also have Brown though pulling in as a good value play as well. Not pulling in nearly as much ownership. To me, I look at that and I'm probably, again, I typically do like 4 or so builds per night. I'm going to probably split them up 50-50. Is that kind of what you would do? Specifically on DraftKings, on FanDuel, I think you want to go Brown more. Is that what you would do, or kind of what are your thoughts on those two specifically?
Yeah, so with Brown, he only played like 19 minutes last game, but we know he is a really good fantasy producer when he does see the minutes. So I highly doubt we get 32 minutes out of
Yeah.
Reith, but I think
Yeah.
it should definitely side with Reith for more minutes.
Yeah, he has the bigger ceiling, right, Reith?
But yeah, I mean, if Reith gets like 70%, you could definitely look at Brown for a pivot for sure.
Yeah, it's a GPP pivot for sure. DraftKings, I feel like
Yeah.
you just eat the chalk there if you're playing cash. From there, like I kind of have already mentioned, we're probably just playing those two centers and just one of those centers on FanDuel. Is there anyone else that you feel like that you want to get to that's just pure center eligible? So like not Anthony Davis, not Wemby, because you can play him at power forward. He's not too high owned. But to me, it's kind of just clearly you just want to play one of those three. Is there anyone else that you like?
Yeah, we'll mention Jalen Smith on both sides. If he does pick up the start once again, especially on FanDuel at 4,200, I think he's firmly in play as a center play as well. But just those three probably for me.
Yeah, I like that call out. Yeah, I think that's a good call. It's just more difficult to get to on tonight's slate. So,
Yeah.
get into the comments here, and then we'll get into kind of a first look build. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts here as a good pivot? So, again, I don't want to butcher his name. Is it Champagne? Is that how you say his name? Yeah. So it just sounds weird to say at the time. But yeah, do you think he's a good pivot off of Hauser, who's chalky? Like he is projected to get like 22 minutes. Had a good game in his last game, I believe.
I like him a lot as a pivot. I will probably have zero Hauser on FanDuel. I know that's a crazy take, but he's just been really bad. But Champagne, I will mention he had a very much outlier game last game. Don't expect him to go for 32 again. But at his price, like I think he's makes sense on FanDuel as a great pivot. So I like that call up.
He could though. Like if this game blows out, I feel like he's someone that still would get run. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
It's weird. I hate bringing up kind of blowout run, but like maybe a few more extra minutes. Yeah,
Portland's pretty bad, so
especially if Simons is out, but we'll see. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and jump into kind of a first look build here. And so, are you fine just starting with Drummond and Reith?
Definitely, yeah, definitely the clear cut 2 toplets.
And then I'm gonna put Hero into a build, or do you want me to go Jaquez? Which one I guess do you prefer, Jaquez or Hero, or both?
I'm gonna say Hero just because I really like point Hero tonight.
Okay, that's fair. And then point guard wise, so we have a lot of great value just in general. Let me just sort it by guard again. So value wise, we could do Derek White, we could do Drew, we could do Exum. Is there anyone that you think is another good starting point here, or would you rather go to forwards first?
I really like Exum. I'm just a little bit worried about blowout, but as long as this game stays close, Exum looks like one of the top plays. So we can go Exum. I think he's probably the safest.
I'm gonna put him at small. I don't know. Like point guard's good. Yeah, point guard's weird though. Like could go Kobe White, could go Hero at the point guard. Obviously, Malcolm Brogdon becomes a great play if Simons is out. But I'm looking at like maybe it's not as much of a try to jam in point guards type night. Just kind of interesting there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then I really like MPJ at power forward. Maybe we can throw him in.
I like that. I would totally forgot. I like that call a lot. A little bit chalky with him, but it's probably too low owned, honestly.
This is like the chalk core right here. So this is
It
what I
is.
think building around, but I think it's good chalk. So
Yeah. And now, like, I don't know. I'm kind of fine getting to Jaquez as like a lower on play. Is there someone else that you would rather get to?
yeah, I like Hawkins a lot. Looks like AD, DeRozan are also picking up ton of steam.
Yeah.
Um, I'm fine. And Pods is projected as a top player. We could go there as well. I'm not too high on him, but he's definitely a solid player as well.
Yeah. I think I'm fine getting there as well. It's almost like if we are playing a hero, we'd be fine playing him as well. What about DeMar DeRozan? Also, someone that's chalky that we could play. Uh,
Yeah, he's solid too.
all right. Let's see here. I'm actually,
Um,
we have 5.9. We're going to have to play some sort of value. So let's see who the best value play is. We could jump on like other than Reith and Brown. Hauser.
yeah, we could
No,
go.
not
Yeah,
doing that.
no Hauser. We could look at Jabari Walker at 4.2K. And he would be another play that would look better if Simons was out.
Yeah.
But
What about
and then
KCP?
we KCP is fine. Yeah, he's fine.
I think that's a good summary of him. He's fine. The issue, I wish that was I wish that was later though, because we could adjust better, as the day or as the night progresses. Because he's not
Yeah,
someone that like I think is a must play. He's someone that like for this specific build, I'm fine ending up on him.
yeah. He again. He's fine. Not a huge ceiling, but at this price point, I think he looks pretty solid.
Yeah, it opens up a lot more, I would say, because now we have 6.6 left over. I feel like that's much more manageable. Could go Tim Hardaway Jr., someone that's kind of chalk. McCollum is an okay play. I don't really want to get there. Derek White we could get to. Like it's just much more manageable now.
Yeah, definitely. White's probably safe for 35 plus, but if he doesn't get fourth quarter run, I still think he can get there.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's one of my favorite card tournament plays too.
Okay. Yeah, we can plug him in there. That's fine.
And we can look at other value too.
No, I think that's fine. And then we have like, I wonder, is this, can we fit Hawkeyes in there? Or is it just too cheap? Oh, too cheap, but, or a little bit too expensive. 100 off. All in all, I feel like this is actually a pretty good first look build though. Like maybe instead of
Definitely.
hero, we could go to white to make it work, but whatever. Like
Mhm.
it's a pretty good first look build.
Definitely.
And
I think Simons, if he plays, looks really good too.
you're right. That'd be an easy move as well because he's been heavy minute. I mean, he's the same play as White, just been hitting his shots a little bit more frequently lately. So, and also probably in a slightly better matchup, right?
Yeah, probably.
All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into some questions here, and then we have about 5 minutes left. So, if you guys have even more questions, get those in. So no, we don't do this with the multiple position eligibility. That's not, you can do that, I believe. I believe that's a setting on the optimizer, but that's not something we do during the video per se. I don't know if that's what you're asking here, but
Yeah.
is that how
I'm
you
not too
read it
sure on that
too?
one.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I'm
So we
not
got
too
another
sure on
one.
that one.
No, that's fine. So we got a question from Courtney coming in about kind of just the ownership. Do we need a couple of single digit ownership plays tonight in terms of probably a GP pooling lineup? I would say probably yes, honestly, tonight. But I do think, like we showed you guys, it can kind of happen naturally as well. Or maybe like a Kobe White who's only 15% projected on. Like, I do think it's smart to just eat the chalk tonight. And then there's enough solid plays there, single digit ownership that you could get to that we mentioned. What are your kind of thoughts there for tonight's slate specifically?
Yeah, so I definitely think you should eat the majority of the chalk. I think getting one or two spots different is fine, but I wouldn't go too crazy with like super long guys.
Yeah. Um, let's see here. Kobe White or DeRozan. I think that is a toss up, honestly. Kobe White or DeRozan. Um, DeRozan's just chalkier, so it almost makes sense to just eat the chalk there because he's the safer of the two. But I like both of them. I kind of talked myself into more Kobe White as this video went on.
Definitely like them both.
And then this one's kind of a fascinating question. With Wimby out next game, can we possibly expect 30 minutes today? I would say, honestly, who knows? Like, it's the Spurs. They've been doing some weird stuff.
Yeah, Popovich is one of the hardest coaches to trust. I think he said he wanted to limit his minutes. So I don't really know what we can expect. Probably 25 to 30
Yeah.
would be my guess.
Which against Portland at 8.7 on DraftKings specifically, he could get there. Like he could be someone you're looking at. The model doesn't view him as like a top play, but doesn't view him as a terrible play, especially on DraftKings. So could get there. It's not like a terrible thought.
Yeah, I mean, if he plays 30 minutes, he looks really good, but that's just not guaranteed with him right now.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into our closing thoughts for the site. I'll go ahead and update the data here. See if we have any changes. But yeah, kind of give your closing thoughts here.
Yeah, so really fun slate. Really determinant off this Portland news that's going to come in later. Simons was a midday questionable, so I think he probably sits, but he could very much well play. So just monitor that, and then yeah, don't go crazy on the first Boston game. I think Derek White's probably my top play, but I wouldn't go too crazy. Wait on the news, and then we have a bunch of great plays in the later games. So.
Yeah, and the nice part about today's slate is that it's really only that one early game, and then it's a later start time. So we should hopefully get all the news in time. Like there isn't too much. Let's wait and see tonight, but there is enough to the point. I am looking at just the sports books. We are still not getting any odds for any of the other Portland Trailblazers players, which to me tells me that Simons is basically a 50-50 because we're getting props for him. So I think that's noteworthy. And so. Yeah, I like the fact that there's 3 games that kind of makes in the night slate that kind of makes it more manageable. But yeah, fun slate. Be on the Discord chat. It's going to be about 30 minutes later than normal, correct? Right? I'm not just making that up.
Yeah,
Right?
7 o'clock this year. Yeah.
Okay. And so yeah, just be in there, guys. If we get some news, the data will be updated. Appreciate you guys being here. Being here tomorrow at the same time as well.
Good. Thank you guys. Good luck tonight.